Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the InRetroSpect Show. Who am I? Well, I'm your host, Samuel Turner. Episode 6 of the InRetroSpect Show.
No, because I used to do magic at school so I wouldn't get beaten up.
Episode 6 of the InRetroSpect Show. Joining me on this merry road are Peter Willington, Daniel Frost, and the Doctor in Residence, Christopher Darby. Coming up this month, as Dan finally gets out of holiday mode, he'll be showing off his work towards our homebrew video game. We will all dive into some gaming news and review our free title of the month, which you'll be happy to know is available for nothing on the Steam. I'm hoping, though, chaps, that this show will reaffirm a bit of my love for video games, because it's faded a little bit in the last 30 days, only because I've been dragged into real-life gaming. Yeah, with people and faces.
What?
Yeah. So the first thing I did was I went to go and do a puzzle room.
Right, yeah. What?
Yeah.
What's that like? Is that like Cluedo? Is that like Cluedo?
It's the closest you'll ever get to playing a video game in real life.
Okay.
So my girlfriend did some in Budapest where it was invented. The idea of this, well, actually, really, it was Crystal Maze. It's kind of just a Crystal Maze kind of thing.
An analog video game.
We went to this office in Manchester, and we went upstairs, and we entered in this room, and we were given a scenario before we went in this room. And I won't tell you too much because I want you guys to experience it. I want you guys to do this one. So the scenario was that this cop had been murdered in his office, and he was investigating this crime, and he managed to find the 5 suspects. But he'd been framed for the crime, and the cops were after him. And all these guys, basically me and 4 other friends, were locked in this office, and the cops were after us. We had an hour before they turned up to solve the crime and clear our names. So we went in with one case, and basically you walk into this real-life scenario, so it's set up like a real-life office, and the people who run it are watching you the whole time. And then they give clues if you're having problems, or they tell you to step away from things or try different things, just like a video game would. And it was the coolest thing I've ever done.
Why was it cool? Why was it so enjoyable?
Well, because it kind of took everything that I've learned in video games, like logic and puzzle solving, and the threat of something happening. Even though you're not going to the cops, they play this incidental music throughout the whole thing. It slowly ratchets up the tension. It's like doom 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 doom, and there's 4 of you running around, and they say to you literally everything can possibly be a clue, anything in the room. So one of them was nearly everything's padlocked. So we found this padlock, and inside was a laser pen, and I figured out that it fitted into this small hole, and the laser pointed to a place on the map. And then that place on the map was a clue for another part of the room to open it up.
So that's like the map room in Raiders of the Lost Ark when plants
exactly.
that stuff
It was incredible. And then the best thing was there were 2 other doors behind us, and I thought, that just must be the door to the office. Wrong. Another part of the puzzle room. Wow, shit went down.
Whoa.
So was it kind of like those Escape the Room kind of series of games, like the Crimson Room stuff?
Pretty much, and The Room. So you know how, Pete, on The Room on iPad, have you played The Room? You played The Room, haven't you, Dan?
Yes, I have.
Yes. It's basically that, how you unlock one segment of it, and then that's a clue or a key for another segment of it, and the whole room sort of collapses in on itself with clues and finding different things. And so basically we were finding clues and numbers and writing them down and referring back to them, and it's great. By the end of it, the room was just trashed because there was a sofa in there. We pulled all the cushions off the sofa. We lifted the bottom of the sofa up to look underneath it. All the cupboards and the walls are off there, and we'd taken all the pictures off the walls and turned them around and opened them up to find clues inside them. Brilliant. Real life video games.
That sounds amazing. It sounds
incredible.
Sounds like Finders Keepers.
Yeah, it basically is Finders
Keepers. Fully booked.
But without the threat of Neil Buchanan.
Yeah.
He probably isn't a threat, actually.
No, he's
One
not.
thing that always
He's in a
annoyed me
band.
about Finders Keepers was that the rooms tended to like mess themselves up with like explosions of confetti. I was like,
Why did
if I'm a
that
kid,
annoy
I
you?
would
That just
have
made it
trashed
harder.
it.
I love that you. I love imagining you, Dan, as a child getting annoyed by this keepers, like just sat there in front of the television, thinking, "Oh, this isn't as good as I would like it to be." My God, so that sounds good, man. So you've been doing that. So that's your real life video gaming. Have you done any other sort of like face to face gaming?
Yeah. Magic's my new bag. Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
Yes. I've been going to lots of sweaty shops in Manchester.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hunting through bins.
Yay! Oh my
that's
God.
my life now.
So I've been wanting to get into Magic for a while, but I've kind of hesitated to do it because I've not really known anybody who's been doing it and been, relatively sort of contactable too much anyway. Is it all I dream it is?
It is all you dream it is and more. I don't think, Dan, you would enjoy it, but you need to play it. I think, Chris, you would like it.
I think Chris.
I think Pete would definitely be the most enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
I was a little confused when you said magic. I thought you meant like like
become a
card
sorcerer
tricks and stuff. Well, no, because I used to do magic at school, so I wouldn't get beaten up. That's what I thought you meant.
You chose the wrong hobby then, Chris.
Give us your lunch money, but here's a rabbit in a hat.
Oh well, you're one of us now.
I never got bullied. I never got beaten up. If there's any kids listening, you don't want to get bullied. Just do a few card tricks for other kids.
Chris, when the bully came up to you and bullied you with whatever they did,
No.
can
No,
you talk? No, hang on, Chris. Your exact words were, "I didn't get bullied because I did magic." So you're putting the coincidence down of you doing magic to you not getting bullied.
Yeah, Chris. I think it's. I didn't get bullied in spite of doing magic.
Like Chris, Dynamo says that he used magic to stop bullying because when they came up and asked for his lunch money, he would palm his money. So make it look like it disappeared, so they couldn't steal his money.
No.
That's using magic to stop bullying.
What did you do, Chris?
Mummy Darby went one better. I had a packed lunch.
Did it have like a lovely tea on it?
Exactly. If they opened my lunchbox, they would have found 8 tuna and tuna sandwiches with ketchup in them. Yeah.
8?
Yeah.
8.
Yeah, 8.
No, Chris. Okay.
8 sandwiches. Yeah, I had like a big Tupperware box.
No, Chris.
No, I had a big
8.
Tupperware box.
Yeah, no. I understand the possibility of you having a large Tupperware box. What I don't understand
Chris, were you just using the wrong tense? Like, were you just saying like the sandwiches have been eaten? Or you had 8, the numerical number 8 tuna sandwiches?
No, I had the numerical number 8 tuna sandwiches with ketchup in them and salad cream.
Was this another way of like not being bullied? So when the kids stole your sandwiches, you still had some left over?
No, it was because it was a way of getting around being bullied. Because when the kids stole his sandwich and ate them, they went, "Oh, this is crap."
And I just said,
magic
pick a card.
Chris, 8 sandwiches.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh God, Chris. Anyway, so yeah, magic's a thing. I'll explain the concept very simply, and over the months, once I've dragged you into it, Pete.
Yeah.
It's basically you've got like 5 realms. You play as a planeswalker. You've got 5 realms, and each realm has a different skill attached to it. So like the fire in the forest is all about big creatures and fast attacking. You've got like the Black Death realm, which is about sort of sacrificing your own life in order to take control of other people's cards. And the White realm's all about defending and giving yourself life. And it's just fantastic and brilliant. But I'll update you as it goes along. But hark! Alive! What's that sound?
Gate slammed on misogyny.
Bong.
Wake up and smell the destiny.
Bong.
PopCap co-founder pops off.
Yeah, all right.
Boom.
Honey, I Shrunk Madden.
Okay, Chris. I don't think we want to touch Gamergate.
No, I don't think
But
that's going to make.
I thought it best to mention it at least,
Yeah.
rather than gloss over.
Well, we've mentioned it. Done.
Yeah, I just don't think that's going to make for hilarious bands.
And Destiny's got enough. We don't need to talk about Destiny, do we?
No.
It's an interesting marketing ploy. Just throwing that in there.
What do you mean,
Well,
marketing clue?
People have to find out about it on their own because
That's true.
I want to know about PopCap popping
Okay,
off.
so what's
So
the-
we
what's the
played a
story then,
PopCap
Vicky?
game last month.
Exactly, it's topical.
Well, last
Pete.
month it was
Well,
topical.
yeah.
All right, go on, Chris.
Okay, so this is the story that John, apologies for if I can't pronounce your name, John Vecchi, PopCap Games co-founder and general manager, has confirmed that he's leaving the studio.
Yeah.
A sharp intake of breath from Pete.
So Pete,
apocryphal, Pete.
you're the resident expert. What does this mean?
Basically, that means that pretty much no one's left at PopCap who started PopCap, which means that EA basically bought a studio, and obviously I'm sure they wouldn't confirm it this way, but when you are in a high up position of management, you have to agree when you sell the company that you'll be at the head of that company for X number of months. And this sounds like he probably just kind of ran out his tenure and then wanted to get out as soon as possible, because basically all of the talent from PopCap has now left and gone off and either made its own their own studios or have just kind of quit the industry. So it's kind of indicative of how EA has treated PopCap, and not really, and kind of mismanaged it, not really known what it wants to do with the company and how it wants to treat its IPs in a sort of respectful and intelligent manner.
So you certain then that EA are directly responsible then for everyone leaving?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not confirmed, and I would not, as a journalist, say this is fact, but like pretty much, basically, as soon as EA took over, a whole bunch of people walked because they got golden handshakes, or they had stock in the company and they just decided to leave because they'd made their money. On top of that, if you actually look at the quality of the PopCap games and how they've changed in terms of their monetization model. For example, PopCap's never really done a free game before EA came along, or not particularly in the way that we think of free-to-play games now. And then EA comes along and basically does a whole bunch of different things with a load of different licenses that PopCap has, and has kind of poisoned the brand a little bit, is now kind of retroactively destroying other brands. For example, Plants vs. Zombies 2 was massively criticised at launch because it was wholly unfair in terms of its freemium model. And there's also now rumour that they are going to relaunch. They're going to scrap Peggle,
I heard this, yeah.
and then relaunch it as a new version of Peggle, which is the version that you'll get if you paid money. But it's going to be free to play, and all of the visuals are absolutely awful. There's none of the colour and spirit of the original, and it's freemium like you would not believe. So, yeah, this is just indicative of an EA that really doesn't understand mobile.
If only they listened to last month's show, then they know.
If only.
If only.
Still available in retrospectpodcast.com.
Thanks, Chris.
So.
Your next news story, what was it?
Was it Honey, I Shrunk the Madden?
Honey, I Shrunk the Madden.
What on earth?
Dan, what do you think this story is about?
I can
If
only
you don't-
imagine a Madden title appearing on a portable device, because it's then being shrunk to a small screen.
It's true.
But perhaps, even though I think they had versions of it before, maybe this is a more fully fledged version of Madden than we've seen on a smaller screen. Am I in the right ballpark, or I don't know, stadium?
No.
I did hear that for the first time, the NFL League are going to start using iPads. No, Windows Surfaces. Surface?
Yeah.
Surfaces. Surface.
Sure, why not?
So
It's a plural of penis, peni. Like, if you've got more than one penis in the room, is that peni?
I think that's probably the least of your worries.
Penises.
I think it's penises.
Sausage fest.
Penises. What about hippopotamus? Is it hippopotami?
It is
Or
definitely
hippopotamuses.
It's definitely hippopotami. Definitely.
Hippopotami.
Hippos.
So surely then it's peni.
Well, no, because a
anyway,
hippopotamus
we'll-
isn't the same as a penis.
Well,
Well,
Dan, I don't know about you, but
You got some issues, Sam.
when my penis yawns,
Brilliant. When we win a gaming podcast award, that'll be the clip they'll use, and the winner goes to In Retrospect. My penis beats yours. That's right. In Retrospect.
it was when my penis yawns, Chris.
All right.
Don't make me say it
We
again.
definitely won't win the award.
I don't want you to say it again. I prefer Chris's version.
So yeah, they're using lots of surfaces. They're using the platform Windows Surface in order to communicate their plays, and because usually they just use those pieces of paper in a file with laminate on them, but they're using Surface now to actually communicate their plays and their moves and their directions. Is that what you're talking about, Chris?
No, these are two very sophisticated answers for what actually is a glitch.
Right.
All right, okay. Go on.
I'm surprised you guys not come across this. It's in NFL 15. There's a glitch that causes the Browns rookie linebacker.
Hang on, Chris. You're surprised none of us came across this. Pete, do you own a copy of NFL 15?
No, I don't, Sam.
Oh, Dan, do you own a copy of NFL 15?
Well, no, but I am usually up to date with news.
Well, it doesn't matter. I don't either.
I was offended last month that you guys didn't get Chris's classic news. That you guys didn't get either of them, and I was sat at home listening away, thinking, why are you not getting these? I knew them.
I'm thinking though that this is going to be bordering very, very, very loosely on the term news.
In the same way as I described topical as being last month. Yeah.
So what's
Okay.
what's this glitch do?
All right, listen round.
Okay.
Basically, in Madden NFL 15, there's a glitch which causes one player, a particular player called Christian Kirksey, to appear 1 foot 2 inches tall in the game.
Are they doing anything to rectify it? Do they know? what
Listeners
causes
around the
this?
world, rush to YouTube.
In fact, the developers have played up to this and they've created like a spoof kind of documentary. But it's absolutely hilarious. You just see this guy running with the ball off from right to left, and suddenly this tiny guy dives across the screen, and nothing just doesn't.
Isn't there another glitch where the defensive some defensive player gets smacked and then goes absolutely flying, like 50 feet into the air, sorts of levels of glitch.
Oh, there's some brilliant ones out there. I think one of my favourites was one we talked about. It wasn't really a glitch; it was just shoddy making in that cricket game where they didn't put a catch animation in it.
Well, that was the Ashes cricket, wasn't it?
That was genius.
That was amazing.
In football, it wouldn't be a problem, although the goalie. But in cricket,
Yeah, you kind of need catching.
I do quite like glitches. I don't find myself as annoyed by glitches as I'd expected I would be. I generally find them quite funny, quite novel things. Really,
I don't mind
in the situation.
I don't mind them when they're not game breaking. Like,
No, yeah.
if I can continue, then
Well, they're
that's
bugs,
fine.
then, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, but when you know, like there was one game where I think it was Smuggler's Run on the PlayStation 2. So this was before updates and stuff. And if you were driving along basically the path that you should probably have been driving upon, there was this one bit of the level where if you landed on the dune at just the wrong angle from a jump, you basically fall through the earth, and you'd probably race like 2 or 3 races before this to get to this one race, and they were quite hard. But you'd fall through the earth, and that was it. They would just spin forever, and you just have to turn the system off. And it was
But I bet that throws up so many like metaphysical problems and stuff for the player. Like, you imagine that pit, you're falling through the earth. What is that like?
Yeah, no. The only problem it sort of had was, you know, whether or not I was going to throw the system out of the window at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That was
You
a
do
Rockstar
have some
game,
anger
though.
issues.
No, that's true. That's true. It's all the Brazil nuts.
My mother, right? We put her on the Sydney Olympics game, and we put her in the rowing, and she somehow managed to row out of the river and into the stadium. Just like, don't know how she did that.
It's amazing.
Dragging herself through it.
It's amazing.
Wow. Hopefully, we're going to report later on whether we've managed to iron out glitches in our game that we're making. That's seamlessly linking a little bit of our show there. But first, it is time for free play. Oh, wonderful, wonderful free play. A little segment now every month here on the InRetroSpect Show. If you want more of it, then you can listen back in retrospectpodcast.com. But now, though, we're still trying to bring you the best of the freest gaming content on the internet. This time we're heading to the Steam, and we're playing Team Fortress 2, developed by those scamps at the Valve Corporation. I mean, it was released back in 2007 as part of the Orange Box.
Yep.
Which is the best box ever since boxes of chocolates and black boxes. If you're going to list your 3 favourite boxes, no, Schrodinger's box, in which there's Schrodinger's cat.
Mm-hmm. The box from Metal Gear Solid.
The box from Metal Gear Solid and the orange box. 3 favourite boxes. Dan, what are your favourite
of roses?
Boxes of roses. Or box of the chocolate
Celebrations
roses.
or Heroes? Which is your preference?
What? That's not even a question.
Heroes.
Well, it depends on what your answer is.
What? What?
Heroes.
What? Celebrations, for fuck's sake. What's wrong with you?
Celebrations I grant
bounties in
you
them.
has Twix, but Heroes for me, Cadbury's trumps anything every day.
Chris.
I'm with Dan on this. I'm a Heroes person. It's probably because we're Brummies and Bourneville is very close to our hearts, geographically and spiritually.
That's true.
Cadbury's chocolate. Favourite boxes? I like the Converse boxes. I really like those.
Shoe boxes are generally just good boxes.
Yeah. Check out Bearwood, everyone. Boxes. So I've got a Matchbox. I like Matchboxes. Do you remember Matchbox?
The little
cars?
boxes
We used
that
to collect
raisins
those.
come in.
Yeah, the Sun-made ones. I used to have that in my lunchbox for my tuna sandwiches. I kid you not.
The 8 tuna sandwiches
We worked that beautifully together, Dan.
with 16
Anyway.
boxes of raisins.
The orange box. The orange box. Released in 2007, of which Team Fortress was a part of it. It became free to play, though, several years later, 2011. And that's the mode that we're playing. So, Dan, tell us how have you found Team Fortress 2? Did you play it on the orange box before you played this PC version?
I didn't. My first experience of Team Fortress has been for this. So I'm a fan of first-person shooters, but I haven't done a lot of multiplayer, like the massively multiplayer online like these are. The only little experience I've had in the past was Quake Online, which we did a free play many moons ago. You can find that again on InRetrospectPodcast.com. So this was my first kind of experience in it. As a game, I really quite enjoyed it. All the problems I had with it were distinctly down to connection and lag and all those horrible internet-related gaming things. I found it to be a really fun game, but I found the problems of lag and some of the ways of it's very difficult to actually get into a game a lot of the time because trying to find friends within the game's interface was quite difficult. Although the interface from the Steam did help that, and you could kind of bypass all the interface of the game and just go through Steam and have kind of join up there, and it kind of filters through the game then.
I mean, one of the things that I think that strikes you as a player when you first boot up Team Fortress 2 is its very distinctive style and character. Chris, who did you play as? What class did you roll?
I can't remember the names, but the first one I played, I had a really rubbish grenade gun, which was doing me no favours. And then when I played with Dan, yeah, that was it. When I was playing with Dan and Pete, I went as a scout because I realised that as a newbie, I found it a lot easier being up close and personal with a shotgun than trying to take out the enemy that was moving far too quickly for me from a distance. But it has got a really distinct palette that I really like.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
It reminded me a lot of the original Time Splitters. That very kind of clear cut, cutesy. Not, I say cutesy because it is quite. It's there's some grim moments in the game. It's quite brutal, but it's done in a very kind of cartoon-like kind of way that is quite endearing. But it's one of those things that made me want to keep playing it. When I played it by myself, first off, I found it quite a very smooth playing experience, and this is from somebody who hasn't got like a proper broadband connection. I had no problems with it in that regard. I just got frustrated because I wasn't very good at it, but I could kind of see how I could get better at it, and it's very generous with its upgrades. Pete flagged up in advance that the community are really generous. They're not a horrible kind of community. They're very welcoming of noobs like myself. So I really enjoyed my time with it, and it was made even better. It was galvanised by the prospect of playing with Pete and Dan. And in fact, just before this recording this evening, we went on for a little battle, didn't we, Gungadin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who won?
That's part of the problem, I suppose, that Dan was kind of alluding to earlier. Like, it is really easy to get into matches. Like, there's you boot up the game and you click play now, and the game is just like, yep, cool, throws you into a game that you've probably got about a 50% chance of winning, a 50% chance of losing. The matchmaking's excellent. The community's like really deep and there, and yeah, like you feel like you're kind of well weighted. But if you want to actually get into a game with friends, I found that the only way you could do that was through this specific mode called the Co-op Man mode, MANN mode, which is, I think, the name of the company that makes the guns. The fictional company in Team Fortress. So nobody, like between Chris and I and Dan, like when we were playing, nobody actually won because we were on the same side, and we kept losing because this co-op mode is really hard, like really, really tough. But that kind of feels a little bit strange to me. Like, the other thing that you can do to get everybody into a match is to have your own server, to pay for your own server. You can also rent servers, I think, directly through Steam, so that you can put matches together for people. But obviously, we were just kind of free to playing it, so it wasn't really an option. But yeah, like,
do you think that has an overall detrimental effect on the experience?
Yeah, I definitely do. Like, I definitely feel like I wanted to find out who was better between all of us. And this man mode thing, like, you're too busy fighting these robots that are steadily coming towards your position and want to drop a bomb and destroy your base. You're too busy sort of focusing on them to focus on whether or not your teammates are doing well with you and doing well for you. But I don't know, like, whenever I was kind of playing it like single player, as it were, like multiplayer, but like for rank, I suppose. I don't know, I found like all the classes really different and really fun, and it was smooth. Like, it really was, wasn't it? Like, and for a free to play game, it is really, really, really generous. Like, everything about it feels really generous.
Yeah. So the freemium model is basically, as I understand it, you don't pay for perks as such, but you're paying to customize your character.
You can buy items, so it's all based on items, which is usually like hats.
Yeah.
But some items do have better properties than other weapons. So it is possible to give you a bit of an edge, but if you're a crap shot, you're a crap shot. Like, it doesn't matter how good your weapons are.
No.
Which is one reason why the class I went for, because I'm not a very good shot, and especially with PC gaming, I'm not used to that, so I wasn't very good at that. I went for the medic. Because with the medic, the gun you use often to kind of heal others, there is an element of that it zooms in on the character you're trying to help. So you don't have to be exact with your aiming for that. So that helps. That's why I was quite fond of that I'm always a fan of the medic class anyway, because I always feel it's an unsung hero, and I'm useless at shooting things. So
And you feel like you're helping as well.
yeah, I remember ages ago we played a game. Ages ago, we played a game, Brink, and we liked it at first, but quickly stopped liking it. But one thing I really liked about it was that the medic class, you got just as much XP as anybody else who was killing people, because it kind of recognised that you were never going to kill people, but you were doing similar levels of work. So it just recognised that. And that's why I always go for that kind of class, because I'm useless at shooting.
Chris, do you think that the style of the game, and going back to its very sort of tongue-in-cheek humour, a very sort of graphical, cartoony aesthetic, do you think that has an effect on the community that play it? I'm trying to see if there's a reason why the community are so forgiving compared to, say, for other more grittier shooters, that their community maybe isn't so welcoming to newer players.
It's a very interesting question. It harkens back for me to that episode of Free Play we did on Puzzle Pirates, when we discovered that actually it has this cutesy aesthetic of being a children's game, but actually we found that the bulk of the players playing it were all adults, almost hiding within this cutesy aesthetic, this children's game. And one could argue that because this is a very cute, and some would argue an immature game, people take it seriously. And it's almost vice versa. When you've got a very serious story in like a Call of Duty game, for example, I say serious, you know what I mean? They're taking it seriously. The characters are. You then get people who, whatever situation you're in, no matter what culture you're in, if something's far too serious, there was always someone there who wants to tip it over and make it humorous, and vice versa. Because we don't like to be stuck with the same thing for a prolonged period of time. That's why we have internet trolls. Someone has to upset the pieces on the board.
One thing I did like that it does, kind of going along the lines of kind of the nice community that it has, is, and I experience this kind of most times when I think you recognise me as a kind of a beginner, that when you kind of go to play, it gives you the option of, do you want to coach for this? Yes. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what these. So I clicked yes, okay, I'll have a coach. I didn't really know what to do. And then what happens is it goes and finds someone who's playing the game and who wants to be a coach, wants to help you, and it kind of links you up with them, and then it takes you into the game, and then you've got this person with you who's talking to you, and they're trying to help you, and they're saying, okay, you can go over here and do this.
I kind of played this a lot on my own with bots and with members of the community, and that coach function, I think, is an exceptional system. That way of being able to mentor the player, to guide them through a game. Like whenever I've played like Call of Duty online or something like that, I don't want to label Call of Duty as a terribly bad online experience, but you do find it that everyone's got their own way of playing, everyone's got their own system. So as soon as you start, everyone just runs off in their own direction. It's quite nice to have that experience as someone else who's playing, who's going to essentially hold your hand throughout it.
It feels like with Team Fortress, I think there was always going to be a danger that the longer that it goes on, the more niche it becomes, the more heavily it caters to its hardcore. And you've certainly seen stuff like that with stuff like Counter-Strike, the original Counter-Strike, whereby you actually find that players will say that they are great Counter-Strike players at specific versions of the original Counter-Strike, i.e. 1.7 whatever it is. Like it gets incredibly niche and hardcore in that way. Whereas Team Fortress does this brilliant thing that Dan was alluding to, which is obviously this coaching, and the way that it works is simply the way that the 3 or 4 of us, when we get together and we play games, if one of us knows something about the game that the others don't, then we share it with one another, because we're pals and we want one another to do better. So we say, oh well, when we're playing like Skate, for example, like Sam, like when we were playing Skate and all these sorts of games, you'd see me do a forward flip and you'd be like, oh, how do you do a forward flip? And I'd be able to sort of say, yeah, it's this way. This is how you do it. And it's like, oh, brilliant. But you couldn't go up to a stranger in the game and say, hey mate, how do you do a forward flip? Because they're just there to play a game, they want to enjoy it. But by having this mentor facility, they earn something out of it. I think they get XP and bonuses and all these other different things. And you get somebody that you can say, how do I jump? And I think that's really awesome. Like, that's really, really cool. We were playing, just before the stream finished, we were playing with a chap called Alex Goll, who is a listener. And, like, he was sort of saying, in between rounds, like, okay, we need to do this next. And this guy's put, like, hundreds and probably thousands of hours into Team Fortress 2. And, like, it was really great to have that level of interaction and go, oh, right, yeah, okay, well, then he was sort of saying, well, we need an engineer for this bit, so I'll be an engineer. And then somebody else was an engineer as well, and it was great. And you could then go, oh, right, and you could see that because that person was an engineer, they were able to lay down turrets and do all these different things that actually had a major impact on the way that the game played. And because of that advice, like, Dan changed from, what was it, spy or medic to something else?
Yeah, I went into the demo guy at one point.
Yeah, simply because it was like, oh, right, yeah. And that bit of information reminded us that, oh, yeah, we need to think differently about this game. It's not about protecting one another. It's about destroying and focusing all of our damage on this one single thing. So it's really useful, that level of encouragement, and it gets people playing and it encourages that sort of friendly communication.
So very quickly, Chris, sort of the idea of free play to introduce people to these games. It's finding the games for free. It doesn't cost anything on entry. So do you think that Team Fortress 2 has a really wide sort of palette? Do you think it appeals to everyone above a certain age limit, of course?
I would say so, yes. It's testament to the fact that I've not really put that much time into it, and straight away I was hooked on it. Once I got in, straight away, I really, really understood it. It's a very clear-cut game. It's testament to its aesthetics, its level design. It's easy to follow. I could see who was bad, who was good. I didn't need to have text telling me what the objective was. I could clearly see what was happening. We have to stop that bomb from getting into our bit. That wasn't even articulated. We just knew. It just made sense. It was very easy to follow. But not in a very patronising way afterwards. It's very careful. They've towed the line really well with this game. And if you are a person who's curious about multiplayer first-person shooters and wants to be eased into this genre, kind of like the tower defense game with Plants vs. Zombies last month, this is a perfect game for you. A game that will not kill your computer and will not have you pulling your hair out.
And Dan, where is it available?
It's available on the Steam.
No, because I used to do magic at school, so I wouldn't get beaten up.
That was our free game of the month. To find out what we're going to be playing next month, you'll just have to wait till the end of the show. Before the end of the show, we'll be giving you an update of what's happening with our video game, which we are making just in time for Christmas. But first, we like to get a little bit intimate. Let's get rid of our three voices. Let's just listen to one. Last month, we joined Chris in the jungles of Far Cry 3. As he tried to play it, you didn't shoot a gun, a weapon, or a bullet. No. That's what it is.
I walked 3 miles through Far Cry 3 without shooting a single gun.
Fantastic. Well, technically you shoot a bullet, but semantics.
That's true.
Hey.
That's probably why...
Do you shoot? No, I thought you shoot a gun.
Well, you're shooting the bullet, aren't you? You're using the gun to shoot the bullet.
I suppose you're firing the gun.
You're firing the gun, shooting a... Well, technically you're shooting a person, aren't you?
This is a chicken egg scenario.
No, there's no person in the gun.
You're shooting an object. You're firing a bullet.
Are you calling people objects?
What's a human cannonball?
Oh,
that's a steady
you shooting
career
a person.
choice.
That's true.
So, if you want to hear that again, InRetroSpectPodcast.com, just subscribe on iTunes. It's the easiest way to get everything without worrying. What are you doing this month, Christopher Darby?
Well, over the summer, Daniel very kindly lent me his copy of Bioshock Infinite.
He's a nice man.
I'm not going to spoil anything because I know Pete hasn't played it. It's on his to-play list. But there's a motif of giant statues in there. And I thought, oh, that's got me thinking about giant statues in video games. So I thought I would look at the significance of giant statues in gaming.
So I like the fact that you say, I saw a giant statue, which made me think about giant statues.
I'm a man of simple tastes.
In about 1870, sculptor Frederic Auguste Bartholdi was asked to design a statue to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence in America. It was to be a joint venture between America and France, with the former building the pedestal and the latter tackling the statue itself. It would be located on Bedloe's Island in New York Harbour, in which vessels arriving would be forced to sail past it. However, at that time, funding was scarce, prompting widespread fundraising from both sides of the Atlantic in order to convince people that a giant carved piece of rock would be a good idea. With the money secure, a skeleton of iron with copper skin, emblazoned with sculpted stone, was built in France, before being separated into 350 smaller pieces and transported from France to America, arriving in 1885. The granite pedestal was completed in 1886, and in 4 months the statue was reassembled. Standing at 93 metres high, she cuts quite a figure, modelled on 2 female symbols for America. The first of these is Columbia, kind of like an American version of Lady Britannia. 1 century scarce performed its destined round, when Gallic powers Columbia's fury found, and so may you whoever dares disgrace the land of freedom's heaven defended race. Fixed are the eyes of nations on the scales, for in their hopes Columbia's arm prevails, writes Phyllis Wheatley in 1776. The other symbol, Libertas, the Roman god of freedom, is where this lady gets her name from. In her right hand she holds aloft a torch, representing progress, and in her left a tablet inscribed with the words, July the 4th, 1776. Atop her head is a crown with 7 points, symbolizing the 7 seas and continents, their sun-like appearance demonstrating how liberty enlightens the world. Now, why have I begun to talk about statues in a light and frothy gaming podcast? It was while playing 2K Interactive in Irrational's Bioshock Infinite that I realised that there is quite a surprising amount of instances of large statues in gaming. Now, this may sound like quite an oblique and mundane thing to mention, perhaps just as significant as spotting a lift or a toilet in a game. However, if we look into the history of humanity's fascination with these edifices, we can better understand their impact within video games. The ancient Greek for large statue is kolossus, its size giving weight to what it is intending to symbolise. Now, obviously such a word prompts one particular game to leap to mind. However, the enemies in Team Ico's Shadow of the Colossus are a little more animated. Less like the Statue of Liberty, and more like the Statue of Liberty at the end of Ghostbusters 2. We can broadly separate the different types of Colossus into 4 categories, representing religion, a powerful individual, a legendary creature, or an ideology. Let's start with religion first. When you have a metaphysical idea that you wish to share with the masses, a giant statue can help give it physical presence. In her book, Religious Statues and Personhood, Amy Whitehead suggests that one of the draws of religious statues is that they were once raw materials of some description, who have been transformed into persons of another nature. Saints and deities have substance here. They can be touched and communicated with, as if they had consciousness. We can give them gifts and speak to those who are no longer with us, having transcended elsewhere. In Crystal Dynamics' Tomb Raider Underworld, Lara encounters a puzzle in Thailand involving the statues of Shiva and Kali, 2 Hindu deities. The first of these, Shiva, is the patron god of yoga and the arts, who is auspicious and benevolent. The second deity is that of Kali, goddess of time and change, who is Shiva's consort. Often depicted standing on Shiva, who lies in her path, subduing her anger, she represents death. It is the benevolent Shiva that bestows on Lara the means by which to progress further, his vast size making us appear as if we are a mere insignificant part of the puzzle. Instead of Shiva doing our bidding, it feels as if we are serving him. However, this puzzle tells us a story, as all our running around and lever pulling reveals that our focus is on the statue that is doing a headstand beneath Shiva's yoga-like stance, Kali. For this is Tomb Raider Underworld, and we wish to visit the land of death. The Colossus in this instance illustrates how we're just a small part of the story. Deities immortalized as statues are scattered throughout gaming. For instance, in Bethesda's The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, praying at the statue of Nocturnal grants the player with the blessing of Nocturnal, which increases their capacity for sneaking. She is also encountered in person, the aforementioned statues of her strengthening her powerful influence. It is not size that gives her power here, but the sheer amount of statues built in worship of her. However, sometimes less is more. The eponymous marker in Visceral's The Dead Space series is a symbol of such elegance and simplicity that it feels ancient and primitive. Standing incredibly tall, it represents a beacon, illuminating and infecting its fanatical following with a desire to follow the necromorph way. It is evil, pure evil. To destroy this is to destroy horror itself. It is this aspect that takes us to the second type of Colossus, that representing an ideology. Now, we've touched upon Lady Liberty, the anthropomorphization of a concept or idea, but what about such statues in gaming? In Rocksteady's Arkham Origins, the main suspension bridge features a pair of statues of workers looking as if they are holding the bridge itself together, a symbol of the workforce that constructed it and holds the different parts of Gotham together. In BioWare's Dragon Age 2, we find statues of slaves, a reminder of the barbaric heritage of the mythical city of Kirkwall, also known as the City of Chains. However, in the N64 classic GoldenEye by Rare, a level entitled Statue Park presents a labyrinthine network of paths pinpointed by statues that act almost as a mausoleum to the Cold War. Amongst these, on a plinth, is a stone hammer and sickle, a symbol that encapsulated all that the Soviet Union once stood for. The hammer symbolizes industrial workers, whilst the sickle is that of agricultural workers. This is the proletariat, a symbol of the real people who are the foundations of a country. Although the Soviet Union only lasted less than 70 years, the solidification of their ideology in statue form suggests something that always has been, an idea immortalized, not tied to a period in history, but existing until it is refracted by the context that surrounds it. In GoldenEye, the unmasking of its villain Janus as a double agent is emphasized further by his standing next to the statue of Lenin, highlighting his defection. The statue of Lenin brings us neatly to our third type of Colossus, that of a powerful individual. These are the most popular form of statue, cropping up in most games. There is a statue of King Midas in Tomb Raider, Princess Peach in Mario Kart 8, Warden Quincy Sharp in Batman Arkham Asylum, Captain Quark in Ratchet & Clank. There is even the veneration of characters from the Assassin's Creed games that make cameo appearances in Marble. Such statues elevate the individual as someone who towers above us, who can see further than us and see all of us. They act as reminders of authority, existing on a higher plane than us. In Rockstar's Bully, we have the Watcher statue, which you have to hide from to ensure safe passage into the Happy Vault's asylum. In Bioshock Infinite, there is an uber fascination with immortalizing its powerful leaders as towering statues of bronze. The city itself is named Columbia, echoing the idealized depiction of American values espoused by Lady Liberty. You realize when standing in their shadows that not only do these colossuses tower above us, but they also shrink the person who looks at them. It's like the distinction between land and landscape. Land is something we are in touch with beneath our feet, but landscape is something held at a distance from us, outside of our grasp. Although moving towards it brings us closer to it, it paradoxically grows out of our reach, meaning that we can never hope to equal or surpass it. So if we can't lift ourselves up to the same level as these statues, the only thing we can do is to bring them down to our level.
Wonderful stuff. The simple mind of Chris Darby, who sees something in a game and then literally makes something out of that. Let's hope next time you don't see something rude or horrible and think, I'm going to make a podcast about that murder.
I've just played Manhunt. How many times?
Yes, that made me think about the use of plastic bags in video games. You've got to be very careful with that, Chris. But that was a slight edit. There's going to be a full version. We'll do the same thing that we did with the Far Cry one, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be for those who just couldn't get enough of giant statues. Next week at InRetroSpectPodcast.com, there'll be the extended version of that episode.
It just
with
keeps
more
on coming.
statuey goodness. It does. The gift that
More
keeps on giving.
statues. More statues than a children's birthday party. It's time now to wander down the muddy path of our video game. To be honest, guys, I'm not really sure where we're at. We've got to be honest. Where are we at, Pete?
Well, where we're at is well, we have our map, we have our script. Actually, we've pitched dialogue. Yeah, we have the actual dialogue of exactly where a person is going to be ending up and where they're going to be going, and we've kind of agreed that the things that are in the map are that I've created and provided to you guys is exactly what's going to end up in the actual game itself.
So, to give a brief synopsis of what this map and what this script is, our character, our protagonist, has been found by an old man, and the protagonist has to get to a certain location by a certain time, and he's got snow blindness. He cannot see, and this old man gives him the directions, and basically through using sounds and slight blurry visual clues, you navigate your way through the game. So script and map, this is looking pretty good. Dan, you were gallivanting on your holiday. What have you been up to?
I was indeed. So my kind of part to play in this escapade of ours fell back slightly. Fortunately for me, I was in a position before I went away that I was able to at least develop a style of visuals that I think will be good. Those will, I believe, go on the show notes that we will see now that how we think the game may look, and just a general idea without giving too much away. It's kind of showing a landscape or an image of kind of where the protagonist will be looking, but it's been kind of blurred, and it's kind of a soft focus with maybe like a white filter because the character is snowblind. They can't really see clearly, but there is an element of kind of they can see immediately in front of them elements. So it gives the user something to see, something to interact with, but without actually giving away exactly what they need to do. If they look closely, if they focus, they'll be able to maybe navigate their way around the map, but it's not going to be handed to them on a plate. That's kind of where we're going with the visual sense of this title. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. It's trying to develop that.
I think that's important. As I said previously, there's several games out there on the market now that literally leave you completely blind. and unless your sound design and sound setup is completely top notch, you get lost very easily. And even though that's fun in concept, we've all agreed that's not fun as a player. So, I mean, we're at a position now to go into full game design stage. We're using a venture game studio. Are we at a position now to create the map and start actually coding the game, Chris?
I think we are, yes. I think the hardest thing for me is to not want to go, oh, what if we did this? Or if I discover something new in Adventure Game Studio. I think that I need to just stick to the script, stick to the map. Obviously, I would do that. I wouldn't just go and create my own game. Say, guys, I've made it now so we can see.
It's about puppies now.
He's an old man who can fly.
So it's basically taking the idea, the penmanship of Peter Willington,
Right.
the eye of Daniel Frost, the sound artistry of Sam Turner, and the amateur hackishness of my coding, and pulling a game out of our arses, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That's a magic trick.
That
And we're very excited about this.
So I think it is doable. Genuinely, I know we're right against the wire now at the moment, but it is doable. We have actually got something here. I think what's just happened is that we've got this quite a hurdle, really. We've got to code this thing now. The fun bit is kind of really over, essentially. We can't, the thinking, the ideas, we can't do anything more. No, essentially it is. The ideas, the imagination, the excitement. Now it's about the number crunching, essentially, the typing of stuff in and turning it into a game.
Mm-hmm. I feel that it's going to be sort of my time to shine when it comes to video game production over the coming couple of months we've got left, as it's really going to be a lot more about the audio production and making sure those MP3 files are directing the player and nice and clear and concise in the way that we want them to be.
So is that what the next project is? Like, is the next thing that you're going to make the sounds?
I think that's what's going to happen. Is basically it's going to have to be detailed what the sounds are in each box, and then I'll just have to create each MP3 file. Is that how you imagine it working, Chris?
Yes, it's knowing essentially what's in each box, the sounds that's above you, below you, to your right and to your left, really. So in Pete's demo that debuted a couple of months back, he did sounds in your left ear and right ear.
Yeah.
We're going to enhance that by not just hearing sounds that are in the rooms next to you, but fainter sounds are the ones beyond that, to really get this sense of the player being able to locate themselves. So I had to kind of work it out with pen and paper, which square I was and how the sounds were in. And basically what I did with sound was in Adobe Audition, I had each sound had its own kind of track, and I would fine tune each one, export it, fine tune it again, export it as another room, and that was the easiest way for me to do it really quickly. Fading in and fading out.
Well, I think that's what I'm going to be doing, is having a look at the map and maybe starting off a few blocks, and if I send them to you and then you see how they fit in terms of the actual, how they fit in the experience, whether they, how long do you think the audio should last for when they're in the box? I mean,
this is a very good point, because at the moment with Adventure Game Studio, the default speed of the sprite is very quick. They can shoot out of that room very quickly. I can decrease the speed of the player so we can have that track last a little longer, so they can really take it in. Ideally, what we want them to do is to not move straight away, but to kind of get a listen to the sound and then make the decision to move. Another solution is that they can move quite fast, but we can dictate they have to move in a specific way through the level by creating a path. I don't think they should move very fast. I think it'd be quite nice with that soundscape if it's quite a nice slow kind of pace. The pace of somebody that can't see and is feeling their way through the dark, essentially.
The only thing that I think could be an issue with that, though, because obviously we're not having a protagonist on screen that you can see. So if when you're moving, if you press forward, and in actual fact, what's happening is the kind of the sprite is moving, you're not seeing that. You just think nothing's happening. That would be my concern. I think what we could do instead is you leave it as really quick, but have it. I think we talked about it before as kind of as a logistical thing for us to prevent a user from going back on themselves. If that was the case, that once you made a decision to move forward in a certain direction, you couldn't then go back and undo that. It might make the user think, okay, I need to listen, I actually need to know where I'm going. If I'm going to succeed, because I could I could just sprint away and make the wrong step and I've lost, theoretically, or I don't get to the end. So I think we maybe keep it as moving quickly, because I think you need to be able to move, otherwise it's going to just, because there's nothing on screen showing you that something's happening. I think you need to be able to move quickly so that bit doesn't become an issue. And then I don't know how we do it, because I'm not so fair with it as you are, but then prevent the user from going back on themselves, because that, I think we need to make a way, as you say. What we want is for the user to sit there, to listen to the music, listen to the audio, and then move as a result of that. So we need to work out, either we physically stop them moving quickly, which we run into those problems, or we try and convince them to not move quickly. Convince them that there's a good reason for staying still and for not sprinting off. And I think that might be one of the better ways of doing it.
And what will do that is having sharp visuals and sharp sound that are going to want to keep them there, that they really want to kind of really like pick out the finer details of the visuals and the sound. I think our next stage really is Sam works on the sounds, I build the room, we take those sounds, we put them in the room, and we just look at what it sounds, get a rough and ready feel for it in the space, because those are the two key things, the visuals and the sound. And obviously we need Dan's visuals as well. So those three things, Dan's visuals, Sam's sound.
And Peter, are you working on the old man?
I am indeed, Sam, working on an old man. I think my task for this month will be to actually source the voice acting, so that if we've completely agreed on this map being exactly what it is, and the script being totally okay, then I can ensure that the script is ace, and then go find a voice actor.
I think we can all sign off on that.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I'm happy with that.
Cool.
I'm happy with the script. I think we may just need to double check the map, because I think some points were raised concerning there need to be more geographies that create different sounds in there, just to really help the player locate themselves within it.
But also the script necessarily won't be impacted by an addition.
Yes, it will.
Why would that be impacted?
Because
does he not, in my opinion, does he not just only talk at the start and then leaves him off to travel his journey?
Because the thing that he says at the start of the script is basically telling you how to get home.
But we can add things onto it if the user goes a different path. The path in the script can be maintained, but then other things can be added around that.
Yes, it can be, but we have to say, like, everything that's in the script has to stay in, otherwise we muck about a voice actor essentially, and that's probably not going to work out. But yeah, we have to basically sign off. So yeah, you guys need to basically give me the complete thumbs up that that's not going to change, and then I can go find this. So we'll find that out in the next couple of days.
So everything stems from the map being signed off, really.
Yes, basically.
Then the script can be signed off, then the visuals can be signed off, the sounds can be signed off, and so can the map.
Yeah.
Easy as that.
Just one question I'd ask Pete, because I think you'd probably be the best person to offer something like this. It seems as though I'm jumping the gun, but I think I just want to make sure, at which point do we start thinking about it in terms of where do we want the game to kind of go? How early before we finish it do we think about that? About where we want the game to actually be shown to people?
Published.
Yeah,
published
published
there
is the word I was
stuff like
looking
that.
for.
So we do need to start thinking about PR and marketing and like all of these silly things. Obviously, it's not going to be a huge amount of exposure simply because it's a prototype-esque small project by a small team. But yeah, no, you're completely right. I need to start thinking about who we may approach for these. Like, who is it that champions free games that have a perhaps who is it that champions free games, and who is it that necessarily might be okay with a slightly rough and ready thing, like something that's not necessarily going to be incredible AAA Gears of War-esque graphics.
A game that, whilst not amateurish, has been developed by amateurs.
Yes, yes, that's it. So who is it? So yeah, I am starting to think about that. There's a couple of different outlets that do stuff like that, I'll compile a list this month as well.
Wonderful. So that's it. The game marches on as we venture towards the end of the year, off into the sunset. If we don't get it in time for Christmas, thanks to global warming, snow seems to stick around for a bit longer. So we've got the 12 days after Christmas.
Oh, that is cutting it pretty thin, isn't it?
But we'll just have to see. We'll see how it goes. I think we can get it done. A lot of hard work in between now and the end of the month. And we'll update you on the next edition of the InRetroSpect Show, which will be my lucky number 7. So hopefully it'll be all right. This month we gave you the free game Team Fortress 2 available on the Steams. Next month we're going to be heading to foddy.net, spelt F for Freddy, O for Oxygen, D for Dan, another D for Dan, a Y for youth. .net. You know how to spell .net. Foddy.net, and we're playing Too Many Ninjas. There are too many ninjas. Foddy gave us a wonderful world of Quap and Gerp. So, and also Get on Top, which is wonderful. So while you're there, play some of the other games, guys, because I might want to talk about just Foddy.net in general. I might change the agenda. But Too Many Ninjas is the one we're focusing on, so have a quick look at that, foddy.net. But that's it for the show. Thank you very much for joining me, Peter, Daniel, and Chris. Subscribe on iTunes, like us on Facebook, give us a thumbs up on YouTube. What else can you do? There's Stitcher Radio, there's Twitter. You can follow us all. Details at inretrospectpodcast.com. But that's it for now. Goodbye!